Hey, good evening, folks. We had a lot of cool news, maybe, today. One being like Mars landing, or really NASA landing another probe or lander, whatever you want to call it, on Mars with InSight. But this other story kind of creeps me out. Kind of has me worried for the future of what could happen, mainly because of the ramifications and the lack of real ethics at play here. The guy's name, this doctor, Jiankui of Shenzhen, said he altered embryos when parents were undergoing fertility treatments to change a gene so that it might provide the resulting babies with a trait few people naturally have: protection against future infection with the AIDS virus. And that is great. It sounds great. It sounds like, yes, we would love for people that are born to not have, any viruses. But at what point, and susceptibility to any viruses, but at what point is this playing God? Um, this article by Associated Press starts off by saying designer babies might be here sooner than anyone reckoned. A Chinese researcher who says he created gene-edited babies crossed what most scientists consider a forbidden line. They don't even know if the claim is true. Um, they go on to talk about what gene editing is. Basically, you can make a biological cut and paste of an enzyme that acts as using an enzyme that acts as molecular scissors. It snips a section of gene, allowing scientists to delete, repair, or replace it. And researchers can use it for crops, altering crops, and also food animals for better agriculture. So it's already being used, just not on humans. But in people, gene editing is still highly experimental. One first in human study is testing an intravenous infusion of gene editing ingredients to fight a killer metabolic disease. Other researchers are developing ways to gene edit damaged cells and return them repaired into patients with sickle cell disease and other disorders. But unlike Monday's announcement, none of those experiments would alter DNA in a way that patients would pass to their own children. So basically what this Chinese scientist did, the researcher said he used the gene editing tool CRISPR, and I think I talked about that in an earlier video that I did, to alter a gene named CCR5 in embryos for 7 couples during their fertility treatments. 1 pregnancy resulted out of those 7 couples. A particular mutation in that CCR5 gene is thought to confer some resistance to HIV by making it harder for that virus to enter cells. Today's medications have turned HIV from a death sentence into a manageable disease in much of the world, but he said he chose that gene because HIV remains a big problem in China. But his claims have not been verified by outside scientists, and there are questions about how the work was conducted. So why was the news so controversial? It says altering genes in sperm, eggs, or embryos means those changes can be passed down to future generations. People who would have no way to consent to those changes. Plus, long-term negative effects might not become apparent for years. Basically, this is saying he has, in a way, started the zombie apocalypse. In a way, he has changed things. And we always knew it would start somehow in China, whether it was some sort of crazy, sickness or something. It's going to start in China, and this is the start of it. This is how it begins, basically. In 2017, the U.S. National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine said lab-only research to learn how to alter embryos is ethical, but said it's not ready for pregnancies yet. The Academy said if it is ever allowed, it should be reserved to treat or prevent serious diseases with no good alternatives. That lab-only research is going on by Metalipov and others. Don't even know who Metalipov is, but I think we should all start learning about these things. But critics said Monday's announcement opens the door to designer babies. If this goes unchallenged, other rogue actors will soon offer wealthy parents purported genetic enhancements for their children, said Marcy Darnovsky of the Center for Genetics and Society. The scariest part is no one knows what has happened to these babies. No independent outsiders know, of course, which has scientists disturbed. The Chinese researcher, said one twin had both copies of the intended gene altered, while the other had just one altered. People with one copy of the mutation can still get HIV. Scientists who reviewed his claim said the alterations aren't an exact match to natural CCR5 mutations, and that big question is whether the gene is altered in every cell. The particular method used in is common in lab research, but not precise or controlled enough. So obviously there are plenty of dangers, precision or lack thereof, unintended mutations. And is gene editing for pregnancy legal? And it determines where you are. In the U.S., it obviously is not. But I guess in China it is. And to me, this doesn't surprise me. I don't think the Chinese want us to know half of the things that they're doing. We just heard that they've almost completed their whole Baidu, which is their version of the U.S. GPS system. They want to be completely reliant on their own global positioning system, so that if by chance we ever go to war with them, which, come on, are we still talking about war in this day and age? But if by chance it happens, they want to make sure that their ships, their spacefaring equipment, all that stuff does not have to rely on America's GPS. And so it makes sense that they're looking at now editing babies. They want to make sure that they have a superior race. It's just mind-boggling to me that this is all happening so quickly. So of course they're not going to tell us, but somehow this news did get out. Maybe he was just so excited. But I am interested to see what happens. I'm definitely going to be following up on this more. But I would love to know what you all think. Is this man playing God? Are the Chinese playing God and creating super babies that are resistant to all sorts of diseases? Imagine you could, play chemical warfare and send people in that are resistant to all types of biochemical type things. You could gas a place and then just have people go in and be in that area. I mean, I can just see exactly how this can go in a good way for certain places, and then in a bad way if these genetic edits turn into terrible, horrible mutations for generations down the line. So I would love to know what you all think about this. Is it ethical? Is it not? What would make this ethical? What would make this right to you if you don't believe it's ethical now? I don't think it's ethical, and I don't think it ever should be ethical that we be allowed to play God. I'm sorry, but we're humans. We always figure out a way to push the boundaries until something crazy happens, and then we vow to never do it again. Case in point, nuclear bombs. So here we go down another road, and we'll see what happens. So I would love to get your thoughts on it, and I will see you all tomorrow. Peace out.